I really don't do an introduction here. I just say, come on up, Corey. It's your this is the welcome. Okay. They're waiting.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm so glad you guys could make it to the conference. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you guys so much for coming. This conference it's our second one that we've put on, and our first one was a big hit, big success. There was a lot of relationships that were made, businesses that are now growing as a result of those relationships. So my hope is that you guys learn a lot, you have a lot of fun. So I'll tell you a little bit about how Alberta Hemp Alliance got started. So initially, the AHA was within Mark Smith's Drayton Valley, Devon constituency. I think Mark Smith is in here today somewhere. But so we were in that constituency, and it was really everything from Drayton Valley, Brazeau County, up to Leduc County, Thorsby area. And we applied for some CARES funding at the time. And there was a number of other organizations all doing things around hemp that all applied for the same funding we did. And I remember I saw Lori Jo at a conference. I think Lori Jo's here today too. There's Lori Jo right there. So Lori Jo had this Yoda moment where I went up to her. I'm like, Lori Jo, why didn't we get that money? She's like, there were so many of you that applied for the same funds for the same thing. She's like, why don't you guys all get together and form something? So I took Yoda's advice, and we went and met Diane and the group at Hannah up north. And from then on, we just kind of formed our two groups together, and we spent years just kind of going around Alberta trying to tie people in. And I think Manny's in the room as well. Is Manny here somewhere? Manny, stand up for a second. Come on, Manny. Everybody give Manny a round of applause. He hates the attention. So I'm some goofball in skinny jeans, and Manny's an older Indian fellow, and the two of us drove around Alberta talking to people about hemp and had a lot of fun. And so from that, we just were able to form things kind of to where they are today. So so we're really excited that you guys were able to come here, and we've appreciated all the support we've had from the government as well. The government's really been great at coming forward and funding us as we've been coming together. And I just hope you guys have a great time, that you make some really great lasting friendships and connections, and enjoy the conference.
Thank you, Corey. I want to thank almost all of you. Most of you met me last year or have met me over the course of the 4 occasions that I've had the opportunity to MC these conferences. And so I've gotten a chance to know some of you personally, even though I forget your first name routinely. But this is particularly special for me, and I need to share with you something personal before we get started. I'm supposed to be retired, and one of the things I refuse to let go of is my passion for the development of this industry. I know you're early, and I think sometimes people think we're exaggerating our progress, but I'll tell you, over the last 4-6 years, as I've watched you from the first hemp conference that I oversaw in Olds, we've come a long way, baby. And that's what this conference is about. Is the panel which will be shared first is to talk about the progress, and I guess the credit that should go to AHA and people like Manny, and people like Dan, and people like Aaron, and people like Paul, and you're going to get a chance to meet them personally. So I'd encourage you to do 3 things. 1, network. Get to know one another. You don't build an industry vertically, you build it horizontally. You build your community so you know one another, and when you have a need, you don't have to go to a directory because you'll know the person and you'll have established some elements of trust. So the positive and the fallout of events like this is the continued development of your industry and the network that is fundamental. Secondly, you've probably got a decision to make along the way. Don't forget to ask for help. It's a great 4-letter word. It's a word often overlooked by people who have authority or people who have a need, who think they look vulnerable and look weak. It's one of the strongest words of any leader and of anyone who's going to make it in business, is the lack of a fear to ask for help. So you're here to make decisions, most likely. I know I've met people up in Peace River who, as farmers, are talking about using hemp in a rotation crop. I've talked to people out in out in Elk Point. I've talked to people down in Camrose and off in Ponoka. You've all got decisions in your lives and in your businesses. You use one another to help in making that decision. The third, I forgot. Networks being one of them, making decisions is another, and learning is the third. And that's what the panels are all about. But you're not going to learn if you don't ask questions. So as you sit there, don't hesitate. Raise your hand. Let me see if you know how to raise your hand. All right, good. That's asking questions. I learned that in first grade. But asking questions is fundamental for learning. So don't be afraid to ask questions. And the panels are hoping you will. It makes their job and that of the chairman that much easier. The role of the chairman, by the way, will be to introduce the topic, to introduce the presenters, not to provide a long-winded summary of each of their qualifications. That's in your program. So use the program. It's got content in it about who each of the presenters are. I'm sure they'd like to meet you personally. So with their picture and with their name and with their background, you've got something to talk about when you are introduced. I'd like to give credit as well, not just to AHA, and thanking them very much for this opportunity, and Manny for having found me in the first place and wedding me to this industry, which I failed to let go of, and hopefully never will as I watch you grow. The sponsors that have made this happen. AHA does an incredible job throughout the year, and there are many challenges yet ahead. In the regulatory area, I know for sure. But they can't do these types of events without the support from sponsors. So you'll see them in the program, and I may from time to time ask Manitoba. Is Manitoba Harvest here? Stand up. Okay, that's one of the sponsors. And there are others along the way that I'll make reference to, so don't be shy of being prepared to stand up and be recognized. But without your support, it enables us to keep the registration fees down a little bit and make sure we have a decent lunch and a little reception and a little bit of fun along the way. So your help is exceptional and very much appreciated. Another thing that I really should mention as we open up the conference is the recognition of whose lands we're on. And I know this is done at sporting events and it's done to open up every conferences. And I've never really done it before because I didn't feel in any way personally tied to that. But I know there's announcements that are forthcoming and will be talked about today. And it involves peoples that we haven't seen in large numbers at our event. But we are now. And yesterday at the Natural Fibers presentation, I was standing next to a young lady whose name I've forgotten, and that's typical for someone who's going on 82 in April. But she said something to me as I was sharing something with her. And I had read in the National Post the recognition of a major project going on in Eastern Canada that was entitled Economic Reconciliation. And I said to her, the magic of that project and the magic of economic reconciliation is the bringing together of parties that have often felt that they were separate. And she looked at me and she said, you know, it's all about mind, body, and spirit. And I thought that really says a lot. That's not academic phrasing. That's not something I got at a Harvard Business Review. That's not something that I necessarily even learned in the course of my career. But what you're doing, and I think what she recognized, and she's living, is the power of bringing mind, body, and spirit together. So I think that's what this conference in some ways is really all about, is the networking, the decision-making, the fun of sharing our minds, our bodies, and our spirits. So I'm going to leave you with that as a bit of an overview. I'm supposed to use up 15 some odd minutes, but usually it'll take 45 for me to get there. Let me just check my notes and see if I've missed anything. Yes, you. I've talked about raising your hands. I've talked about the panel chairman simply doing introductions. When you see me walk up to the podium, when it's not my turn to speak, it means someone is reaching the end of the tether of time available. So my job as the MC is to try and keep it light, keep us moving and on time, synthesize some of the discussions along the way. but also to manage time. And the only way I can do that respectfully is I'll walk up to the edge of the stage, usually stand here, and you'll know why I'm here, and hopefully the presenter or the chair will as well, as a polite way of saying, get off the fucking stage, will you? So with all of that having been said, and having the first moment of laughter, I will introduce the panel, because that's next on the agenda for 10 o'clock, right? Oh, and by the way, for networking, we've really encouraged it, but if you are going to do network, and certainly you'll have chats at the table, please respect the group as a whole. Leave the room, have your cup of coffee outside, do your networking out there, not in the back of the room or in a corner. It can be disturbing, and it's difficult for me as an MC to call you all together. So, you know, be respectful of the group as a whole when you are having a sidebar conversation. But I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to ask Corey if you'll bring your panel together. It's a little bit early. I hope 15 minutes early is nobody's problem. One thing we can never buy is time, so we've just got 15 minutes extra. So any questions out there, by the way, as it relates to the program today, or where the men's and ladies unisex, where the washrooms are? I guess we're okay. No questions. Excellent. Okay, Corey, you're on.